All right, so I'm just a stupid dog, and this whole thing with Ron DeSantis in Florida is killing me. Ronnie boy, he flies back to Florida, makes a big show of it. When he gets here, he steps out and says, "Don't worry, I'm here to thwart Idella. We can meet the ravages of Idella square right in the face together, folks." And somebody leans in, they're whispering in his ear, and he says, "Holy crap, there's a whole bunch of contaminated gasoline. Probably, it's over there in Fort Worth and on the wrong side of the Gulf Coast. I'm sorry to be the bearer of ill tidings, folks, but this kind of sucks. We got a hurricane bearing down on us, and, we got a bunch of contaminated gas. We did it to ourselves. What kind of morons do you think we are? Florida, the home of the friggin' yahoos and the Watsonahumps. This is what I'm saying. I think it goes to have, support the dog's theory that Florida is really run by a handful of elites, a Kabbalist center of wealthy people who live right there on the shore, and they have all these serfs, out behind them, really underwriting the upkeep of their manor houses. They're glorious, beautiful, gorgeous, almost unbelievable, utopiatic, whatever you say, houses that they have down there and their yachts and the docks and everything. They could not afford to pay the insurance. They have to have all the other people pitch in and pay for them. That's what Florida does. They build one highway, then they give about 4 or 5 of the lanes to the rich people. Say, hey, just pay a little extra. You guys drive over there. The rest of all the poor people, they can drive over there. That's the good thing about Florida. That's why you should be a little bit careful about Ron DeSantis. As soon as Ron flies back, he's trying to rally up some support. He's trying to show his chompers. He's trying to look like he's an Obama-esque figure stepping in to help Chris Christie when whatever that one that came up there and flooded out New Jersey. But the funny thing about it is that Ron was forced to have to stand there like a mokes, like a dipshit. He had to say, hey, I think we can get through it together. They tapped him on the shoulder, and then he had to say, oh, wait a minute, it might be a little tougher than I was thinking for us all to get through it together because we contaminated all the gas over there on that side of the state. It's hilarious. Do not drive your cars. Ron had to say, like he was a moronic fool, he says, if consumers filled up at any one of those gas stations, they probably don't want to drive their car because you are going to have people potentially stuck on the side of the road. That was the other thing Ron was saying. Not only are these people stranded and their engines are going to blow up, we're going to figure out what kind of poor people down the line are going to have to pay for these middle-class people's car engines. And some of these, I don't know, there might be some elites mixed in there too. That's why I don't know if it's the elites that are running things or if Florida is really just that screwed up and stupidic. I can't tell if it's a cabal of elites or a cabal of morons. Whatever, and I can't tell if Ron is emblematic of the moronicism of Florida, or is Florida emblematic of the idiocy and foolishness and stupidicism of Ron DeSantis. I don't know. I don't know which way it goes. I get confused by that. But anyways, I'm just a stupid dog, so nobody really knows. The other thing is, this kind of breaks the tie in my mind. And it puts in a whole nother thing, in a whole nother quandary. I can't tell if it's the elites or the morons that are running Florida. But the impacted stations, let me just read this quote from a governmental authority down there in Florida. The impacted stations have been asked to stop selling gas until the contaminated fuel is replaced and the tanks are cleaned. They got that one backwards. That's how stupid they are. We're going to replace the fuel, then we're going to clean the tanks. Once the good fuel's in there, we're going to clean them. How are we going to do that? I don't know. Dump the new stuff right on the ground, then we'll get a third batch and put it in there. That's how. What are you, stupid? Come on. Florida, your flag flies above a bunch of stupidic, moronic fools. So that's what the guy says. He says, the fuel will be replaced and the tanks will be cleaned or whatever. You don't have to do it in that order. Do it any order that makes a little more sense to you. But whatever. The funny thing is, they asked the stations to stop selling gas. They didn't order them to stop. This is Florida for you. Hey, the stations want to sell it. That's one good way to get out of the tank. Then you could clean it. Then you could put the fresh stuff in. Sell it to a bunch of people. Their engines blowed up. We get the poor people. We put a garnish here on the welfare checks of some of the poorest. The poor. We buy all these, middle class and upper middle class guys. We buy them all new engines for their, their Tahoes and their Explorers. That's what Florida's pretty good for. I don't know. To me, it just seems like you should say you can't sell the gas, but whatever. They said they've been asked. You know what? They were asked to do it. And, I just know, these guys down there in Florida, they're going to dump that gas, get rid of that gas, clean the inside of their tanks, then put the fresh stuff in, all before the hurricane gets there and destroys everything. What they're going to have is a lot of blown engines, stuffing up and engulfing and sealing off the evacuation routes. Once the evacuation routes are all sealed off and conglomerated and nobody can get away from the hurricane, then I think Ron will consider his work to have truly been accomplished. Whatever. I'm probably wrong. I'm an idiotic, stupid dog. So